Okay, so good morning, everyone. Thank you for your time today to attend this webinar. I'm John Baines, the Head of Purchasing for Farm Hispania Group. We appreciate your time and commitment to participate in this webinar. The issue of decarbonization is very important for everyone in the world, not just for Farm Hispania Group. What we're doing today is not important not only for Farm Hispania Group, but also for each of the companies involved. Moreover, I believe that the work we're doing together will also serve you with other customers who are also, if they're not already asking for this, actions will soon be asking for them. So today, Antithesis team will explain the project that we're working on and will provide more details about the Excel information that they've asked for you and the future follow-up. So I will pass the word to them now and we can start the session.
Okay, thank you very much, John. Good morning, everyone. My name is Lorena. I'm here together with my colleagues, Abel and Joanna. We are the Anthesis team working alongside Farm Hispania Group on this project. And for your peace of mind, this session will be recorded. If you prefer to follow the session in another language, you can activate subtitles, click the 3 dots at the top of your screen, select Record and Transcript, and then choose Start Transcription. You'll be asked to confirm the spoken language for the meeting. Please select English to improve accuracy. And next, open the transcript pane and click Language Settings and turn on the Translate to toggle and pick the language you want from the drop-down. Okay? Well. The Supplier Engagement Program has been launched. This informative session will be based on 10 sections. We will discuss the impact that procurement has on the company's carbon footprint and the science-based aligned target. And we will also present the expected impact of the program on the carbon footprint. We will explain what a supplier engagement program consists of, the timeline, and what is expected from you as strategic suppliers. We will also walk you through the questionnaire we're asking you to complete, and we will go into detail about its structure and content. At the end, we will have time for questions through the chat. Okay. As many of you already know, the climate change is one of the most pressing global challenges of our time. In a world increasingly affected by its consequences, organizations have a crucial role not only to adapt, but to lead the transition toward a low-carbon economy. This challenge requires companies to anticipate new regulations, respond to growing market expectations, and transform their business models to become more resilient, efficient, and sustainable. The current climate context demands collaboration across the entire value chain. Companies and suppliers must act as agents of change capable of generating real impact. The Paris Agreement, signed in 2015, marked a turning point by setting the goal of limiting global warming to well below 2 degrees, ideally to 1.5 degrees. This international commitment is supported by frameworks like the Sustainable Development Goal and the scientific findings of the IPCC, which emphasize the urgency of action during the critical decade. Corporate climate action is now at the heart of the global agenda. Supply chains, such as Farm Hispania Groups, play a strategic role in achieving shared decarbonization goals. At the same time, climate regulation is evolving rapidly. New frameworks, such as the CSRD, the EU taxonomy, and the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, the CBAM, are pushing for greater transparency and accountability. Beyond regulation, market pressure is also driving change. Customers and investors are increasingly demanding suppliers who demonstrate real climate commitment. In short, climate change is urgent, regulation is tightening, and customers are asking for more. For suppliers, having a clear climate strategy is no longer just a compliance. It's becoming a competitive advantage. And now let's take a look at some of the concrete steps Farm Hispania Group has already taken in response to climate change. Since 2022, Farm Hispania Group has been measuring its carbon footprint. They have committed to science-based targets, or SBTi, aligning the reduction goals with the objectives of the Paris Agreement. Importantly, this commitment extends beyond their own operations, so the Supplier Engagement Program is about working alongside strategic partners like you to drive decarbonization across the value chain. In terms of risk management, Farm Group has analyzed its climate change risk and opportunities following the TCFD recommendations. Transparency is another priority. Through the Carbon Disclosure Projects, or CDP, Farm Group reports its emissions and climate strategy. Last year, they achieved the highest scoring available for SMEs, a B score. And finally, Farm Group is recognized by EcoVadis with a silver medal, placing Farm Group among the top 15 of companies rated globally. So, to make a long story short, Farm Group has been actively working on both sides of the climate change, reducing emissions through mitigation, while also building resilience through adaptation. But where is the carbon footprint? The carbon footprint represents the total greenhouse emissions associated with an organization's activities. These emissions are expressed in terms of CO2 equivalent, which allow us to measure and compare their impact on climate change. To calculate and manage these emissions, the Greenhouse Gas Protocol, or GHG Protocol, is the most widely recognized framework globally. This methodology classifies emissions into 3 scopes, helping identify their origin and the level of control the organization has over them. This classification is key to developing effective climate strategies. First, Scope 1 includes direct emissions from sources owned or controlled by the organization. Scope 2 refers to indirect emissions from the consumption of electricity, and Scope 3 covers all other indirect emissions that occur across the value chain. As with most companies, Scope 3 emissions are especially relevant for Farm Group. They represent the majority of the company's total footprint and show just how important collaboration with suppliers is for reducing overall climate impact. In fact, 89% of Farm Group's emissions come from Scope 3 sources. Of that, about 58% are directly linked to suppliers, mainly through the purchase of goods and services. This means that suppliers play a crucial role in Farm Group's decarbonization journey, and progress is only possible if it's achieved together. An emission reduction plan is like a roadmap. It lays out the specific actions an organization will take to cut GHG emissions in the short, medium, and long term. It translates the results of the carbon footprint analysis into strategic decisions. But why is this important? Because it guides efforts toward real and measurable impact. Farm Group has developed a decarbonization plan through 2030 that aligns with the standards of SBTi and thus with the Paris Agreement. Specifically, Farm Group is committed to, first, reducing Scope 1 and 2 emissions by 32% by 2030, mainly through electrification and the use of renewable energy, and second, reducing Scope 3 emissions by 25% by 2030, with a concrete target that 71% of its suppliers covering purchased goods and services will have science-based targets in place by 2029. This will be achieved through collaboration with suppliers, encouraging alignment with SBTi within the specific timeframe. So, what does the commitment process to SBTi look like? First, the company identifies its most important impacts through the carbon footprint. Second, it prioritizes the areas where it has the greatest ability to drive decarbonization. Each year, it measures impacts, takes action to reduce them, and monitors progress. And finally, the process is formalized by signing the SBTi commitment letter. What are the science-based targets? The science-based targets provide companies with a clear pathway to reduce their GHG emissions in line with the Paris Agreement. 3 criteria are the pillars for defining corporate climate targets that are credible, ambitious, and science-aligned. They determine the what, when, and how of a company's decarbonization strategy. The minimum scope defines which emissions a company must include in its reduction targets. Companies must include 100% of their Scope 1 and 2 emissions. And if the event that Scope 3 is more than 40% of the total, they must also set a target to cover it. The target year establishes when the emission reduction must be achieved. It defines the timeline for actions and allows progress to be measured. Generally, 2 types of timeframes are set. Near-term targets. These typically have a timeline of 5 to 10 years from the date they are set. All long-term or net zero targets. These are projected further into the future, typically for 2050 or earlier. These targets define the company's ultimate goal to reduce emissions to an achievable level, usually a 90% reduction or more. In 2024, the SBTi published its 2023 monitoring report, showing a record acceleration in corporate climate action. In 2023, validated targets grew by 87%, bringing the total to over 4,200 companies, covering more than a third of the global economy. The biotech, healthcare, and pharma sector show significant growth in SBTi commitments between 2022 and 2023, reflecting a strong momentum towards science-based climate action. This sector was, in fact, one of the fastest growing in terms of target adoption, signaling a crucial shift in an industry with complex value chain and a specific environmental footprint. As mentioned earlier, Farm-Hispania Group has set a target to reduce Scope 3 emissions by 25% by 2030. Achieving this requires close collaboration across the value chain. In fact, this commitment is the main driver behind the creation of the Supplier Engagement Program, which is designed to support suppliers in aligning with these climate goals. And now my colleague Abel will share more details about the Supplier Engagement Program.
Well, we'll talk a little about specifically the Supplier Engagement Program. A supplier engagement program is a structured strategy designed to actively involve the supply chain in a company's climate goals. By fostering, it encourages suppliers to measure, report, and reduce the emissions associated with the purchased goods and services they provide. This collaborative approach enables direct action on indirect Scope 3 emissions and allows the company to anticipate regulatory and reputational risks. The program objectives are to establish the program reach, involving all suppliers with significant impact on the Farm-Hispania's carbon footprint, to adapt the collaboration efforts based on the climate maturity of level of the suppliers, with a progressive and realistic approach, and to promote a joint roadmap that enables progress towards shared emissions reduction goals. The supplier engagement plan is developing 5 main phases. First of all, suppliers with a significant impact on Farm-Hispania carbon footprint have been identified. For this, your participation is strategic for moving together toward a more sustainable supply chain, of course. A preliminary analysis of each supplier climate maturity has been conducted by ANSESIS, and tailored approaches have been defined. We want you to feel supported at every step. This session is being recorded to make it easier for you to complete the data request form. Later, we will see in detail with my colleague Joanna. The data you share will help to refine the carbon footprint calculation of Farm-Hispania and build a more accurate shared understanding of where we are and how we can move forward. Finally, through this collaboration, Farm-Hispania Group will define a joint roadmap aligned with the organization's climate commitments. Of course, you will play an active role in this process and in the ongoing monitoring of progress in sustainability. Well, what is expected of you as a strategic supplier? Well, to manage our program effectively, we have segmented Farm-Hispania suppliers into 3 main groups based on their level of climate maturity. We are aware that suppliers may be at different maturity levels right now, and this is why we have defined these tiers in order to perform an optimal analysis of your information, of the information provided. First of all, at the highest level, we have the advanced group. These are suppliers who already have a full carbon footprint and science-aligned climate targets through SBTi. With them, our focus is on strategic collaboration, looking to align our decarbonization roadmaps to jointly meet the goals of the Paris Agreement. Next is the intermediate group, which includes suppliers who have already started the journey, maybe with a partial carbon footprint or some defined reduction targets. Here, our goal is to work with them to improve the quality and the depth of their information, understanding the barriers they face in order to help them strengthen their climate planning. And finally, we call the initial group, includes suppliers who are in the earliest stages. With this group, our work focuses on identifying the obstacles that prevent them from calculating their carbon footprint and setting targets. so we can help them build the necessary capabilities to move forward. To ensure the effective collaboration, a set of general expectations has been defined for our suppliers. To begin, suppliers should review the detailed instructions sent by email. A key step is to attend to this session, which is designed to clarify any questions. Afterwards, you will be asked to complete and submit the form by the established deadline that it is fixed at the end of September. As a fundamental part of the program, suppliers will also need to share their 2024 greenhouse gas emissions and any available life cycle assessments for products sold to Farm Hispania. This information is really necessary for us and for Farm Hispania, of course, to estimate the associated emissions to your products. Finally, beyond these initial steps, the core expectation is a commitment to continuous improvement in sustainability, working together along the next years with the Farm Hispania Group to reduce emissions over the long term. As a key part of Farm Hispania's group supply chain, we invite you to actively participate in this initiative. To be specific, what we expect from you will depend on your starting point of sustainability and your maturity level. Three main aspects are the corporate carbon footprint, if applicable, of course, the product carbon footprint or emission factor, specific emission factors for your products, and any other qualitative information on your climate strategy, like plans, targets, certification, etc. Part of the program, you receive a digital form to collect information on your organization's current situations in terms of sustainability and climate change. The content of the form is designed to be adapted to the level of climate maturity of each supplier in order to facilitate the agile and relevant participation aligned with your operational reality. Well, now I leave with my colleague, Joanna, who will talk you through the contents of the form, step by step. And, well, it's all yours, Joanna.
Thank you very much, Lorena and Abel. Can you confirm me that we can see the Excel form?
Yes.
Perfect. Well, thank you for the introduction and the context. Now we will walk through the Excel questionnaire and explain how to fill each tab correctly. Okay. So at first, as previously mentioned, your collaboration in this program is key to tackle the climate change. Okay, so it's very important to fill out this information. There are 7 tabs with the drop-down questions and open-ended fields to make it easier. So we ask you to go through the 7 tabs and enter each question correctly. Okay, and we will repeat ourselves. But if you have any technical questions while filling it out after this session, remember that we are available through support via email and at the end of this session. Here you can find all the emails of our team, Abel, Lorena, and mine, to resolve this type of queries. Okay, so the first tab is more like an intro tab. You can choose to complete the form in English, Spanish, or Portuguese. We now are going to choose English. And if needed, in some cases, we can provide an unlocked version for you to translate each cell from the English version into other languages that are not included in this drop-down. If you need that, send us an email and we will send it to you, okay? This tab mainly gives a little bit of context and the main instructions. Here we can see there are 3 types of cells. There are cells highlighted in orange that are mandatory and must be completed. They're all cells in gray that are conditional, and it depends on how we are answering the late question. So we ask you to fill the form in order. Okay. If a gray tab appears, you can ignore them unless they turn orange. And this is very important. Each cell, as your data is entered, will become blue, will turn blue as it is a correct answer. So we please ask you to review the form correctly before sending it to us to ensure that everything is complete. Okay? So let's go for the first step. It's a very short one. It's organization information. Okay. Here there are 3 blocks. First, this section asks for general company details, and here we ask you to enter the reporting year. Here will be likely to be 2024. If you have your emissions data of 2023 and this year you didn't calculate them, put here 2023. But if you have data of 2024, please ensure to put here 2024. Here, in the questions, organization name, tax identification number, and here we leave 3 optional cells where you can explain more of the products or services that you commercialize to Farm Hispania Group. Here, is to fill the contact person's name, the department, and email. And this will help us if we need, in any moment of the analysis, we need to make sure about the data. We know which person is the responsible or the person that accepted this data. Okay. And the next, we ask for economic data, the economic information. And we are asking for the reporting currency and annual turnover, excluding VAT. This is only for us to estimate your cost contribution emissions for the Farm Hispania scope 3 and 1. Okay, so it is very important to fill this cell is the annual total annual revenue, and it's only to obtain us from thesis to obtain this emission intensity of your company's operation in or expenses. Okay. So we are going to the second tab, the climate strategy tab. This is a more qualitative part of the questionnaire. Questions are simple, direct, and have almost every question have multiple choice drop-downs so that it will be easy for you. And here we ask you that if your strategy aligns with the Paris Agreement, whether if you have climate-related action plans in your strategy, whether you have reduction targets or risk assessment that is being held. And as you can see here, you can choose for different, I'm having technical problems. You can choose if it's included or not included on your climate strategy. It's very easy. It's like a yes or no questions. Here in the following questions, we ask if the cases that you have this kind of initiatives, sustainability initiatives in your company, we ask you to fill it more in detail on that topic, such as climate transition plans, CDP, carbon disclosure projects, and climate-related risks and opportunities. And here there's also multiple choices drop-downs, but also you can write more information if you want to share to Farm Hispania. This last question is also important. We ask you whether your organization has purchased voluntary and regulated carbon credits the past year, and in one volume of this emission that you have been offset. And at the end of this, as Abel said, it centers to more initial suppliers or initial companies that are not that don't have every initiative began, we ask you to explain us a little bit more of your main challenges that you're facing in calculating, in reporting, and what kind of possibilities do you imagine that we can collaborate to give you guidance or support in the following years. So this is also important and is an open question. And then I will go to the most important and crucial tab, that is the emission one. As Lorena explained and Abel says as well, we are asking you for emissions data, okay? So this tab is it has a simple structure divided into three parts. We have the greenhouse gas inventory, GHG inventory. We have also the product life cycle assessment from some information from the LCA. And lastly, we have some information of the emission reduction targets. And here we talk about SBT, okay? We will begin in the first part that is the more long. And well, this, as Abel said as well, this Excel is made for all of the level of maturity of climate-related actions. So as it's flexible and adapts at each company. No? As we know, some suppliers are already experts and have all the carbon footprint scopes calculated, but some other suppliers are not that advanced in this task and haven't yet begun to monitor its emissions. Okay, so for this reason, this section has hidden conditionals based on your responses. Let's follow an example. In the best case scenario, if you're a company that already has been calculated for a lot of years, scope 1, 2, and 3. These questions will appear. The first questions are related to the methodology that has been used, the verification, or the public availability. If you have the results of the carbon footprint, you can share the link here, or you can send it us through an email. Okay. In the next following cells, we are asked you to enter the emissions calculated in 2024, as I said, and we ask you to fill numeric values. Okay, don't write tons of CO2 or kilos of CO2 because we are already asking only tons of CO2. Okay, this is important to not mix the unit. In this column in the side, we have each category is described according to the GHG protocol that we are using to calculate Farm Hispania Group. And we explain what the scopes 1 emissions are, what the scopes 2 emissions are, and also the scope 3 categories that are going to be included. Okay. Here in scope 2, the scope 2 indirect emission associated with the consumption of purchased electricity, steam, heating, or cooling, we ask you to fill both methodologies, market and location. Okay. And well, this is easy. If you have calculated this, you will put here the number value and here the number value. For the scope 3 data, we have two options as well. We have the option, if you have a breakdown of your upstream categories from 3.1 to 3.8, if you have this number, it's better to put them, and you can put it here. In these orange cells, you can enter the values. In the case of don't having this category level breakdown, we are choosing the second options, and these cells are turning gray, okay? And you will have to enter here the total scope from categories 3.1 to 3.15, okay? we, at the point of the analysis, are going to estimate that upstream part of that emissions, okay? So that's better to, if you have the data, to fill here the data, okay? Let's go back to an option. Imagine you're a company, a supplier that don't have this calculation made, or the calculation is in progress. You don't have the tons of CO2 equivalent, but you have some consumptions, you have how many electricity have you used. So we choose the last question. As you can see, all these questions are turning gray, so they're not, they're blocked. And some button here appears, okay? We ask you to fill the required data in GHG inventory. This way, we are calculating from a thesis, we will be calculating these emissions in each category. So it is very important, if you don't have your calculation done, to fill this tab, or in the case of having only scope 1 and 2, you can fill only this category, this tab, okay? This is very important because we already have been receiving some emails of suppliers that don't have the calculation conducted, and they're not arriving to this tab that is very important, okay? So I will only visit this one because at the end, scope 3 is the same that in here, excluding scopes 1 and 2. So here we ask from consumptions, okay? For scope 1, we have three categories, subcategories. Fuel consumption for stationary combustion and mobile combustion. Here you can select also the fuel type from the drop-down. You can enter the consumption in value, numeric value, and you can specify the units, okay? If you have any comment, it's important you can add these comments as optional, okay? If you have more information of the fuel type or the units are different, you explain it in the comments, okay? So in the case of any maintenance has been done in HVAC equipment, you have records of these refrigerants, please indicate the type of the gas that you have been used, and also the height, the weight of this recharge. And as well, you can write from some comments, okay? And then for scope 2, we ask you for electricity consumption of your organization in 2024. And here is important that you enter the country, the total consumption, the self-consumption, if it is applicable, only in cases if you have renewable energies in your local facilities, and also the percentage of this electricity that is renewable, that has renewable energy certificates. Okay, only in the case of Spain, you also can select the electricity supplier. Okay, so if you're not in Spain, don't, this will turn gray and you will not have the option to select its supplier. And then we begin to the scope 3. These are all the other indirect emissions, and we are only asking for upstream emissions from category 3.1 to 3.8. Our methodology is going to be directed to expenses, okay? We are going to estimate your emissions in this category through the expenses that you have been made in 2024. And you have a drop-down list here where you can choose for different product or services. And based on the OPEX, in the case of 3.1, and in the CapEx, okay, based on the capital goods, okay. These two tabs are the same format. You have a drop-down menu and some space to put the expenses, okay. Here, this euro is related to the currency that you have choose in the organization info tab, okay. So if your economic annual memory is not in euro, you indicate what currency is, and here you have the currency that you choose, okay. And then we have some transportation categories. From upstream categories and business travel is the same. We have some drop-down menu to choose different type of transports, rail, land, water, air. And you have to put here estimated expenses that you have made in 2024. Okay. This is it. Well, you will be in the need to talk to some financial department or to see the corporate economic annual report. Here, the waste generated operations, you have two options. You can put how many expense you have paid into waste management this year, or also you can put the volume or the weight of this, if you have the report in some not financial report, you can put here the kilograms of these types of waste. Here, the employee, we ask you to the number of employees in the company as if the 31 of December. And we ask you also to the percentage of teleworking days, remote working days. And if you have this data, this is not mandatory. If you don't have this data, don't fill it. But if you have data more or less like an estimate of this average one-way commuting distance, you can put it as well. And the last category is list assets. You can choose from the menu also different type of facilities. You put the surface of this facility and you choose the country where this is located, okay? So this is the GHG inventory in the case of your company don't have the emissions calculated, okay? It's very important. If you have any technical doubts or any missing data, you can write us and we will help you out. So I will continue in the next section of product life cycle assessment. I will be fast in this. And if your company already conducts LCA studies in any products or group of products, here is the technical information that we have to ask for us to know better this factor emission. And you can choose, well, it's very written. This part I will not explain it, but it's very, if you have made LCAs, you know this kind of questions. There are of methodologies, of scope, what type of life cycle stages are considered, etc. And here, the last part of the Excel form questionnaire is the information related to emissions reductions. Okay, here for Farm Hispania Group is very important because they have an important reduction percentage, objective target that Lorena explained very well. That we need that we are together on this work of decarbonization and we align our targets to SBT. Okay, so here also there are drop-down options. You can choose if you have emission target or if you don't have emissions targets, these questions will disappear. But in the case of having I'm having technical questions. If you have emissions target, you can choose if they are validated with SBT, if they are aligned but not validated, and you can enter as well the percentage that you have set, and the base year and the target year. And if you want, and this is kind of optional, you can explain a little bit more about this emission reduction strategy. This is for us to be aligned with our value chain. And without further delay, I will hand the floor back to you, Abel, and remind you that if you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate. We will be in contact via email, and we'll be happy to solve some queries. So thank you very much. Abel, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Joanna, for the explanation of the Excel file. So we will talk now in a few seconds about the support and the accompaniment. Of course, we have our support through the process of this information reporting. And yeah, here. And as synthesis, of course, we will follow up closely to ensure that each supplier can move forward with clarity and confidence about all of this information. We will carry out a proactive monitoring via email to help you in case of doubts or difficulties during this process. Once we receive all your information, our process will unfold in a few key phases. First, our team will organize and review the data carefully and, of course, confidentially. During this stage, we also evaluate the quality of your information. If necessary, we may contact you to clarify or complement any or certain aspects. Finally, with all this data consolidated with you, we'll analyze the results to understand each supplier's climate maturity level at the end. The objective is clear, to identify opportunities for improvement and understand your progress so that we can collaborate more effectively. Based on this information and results, an adapted roadmap will be proposed in the near future, aimed at accompanying suppliers in your climate evolution, progressively, of course, and in line with Farm Hispania Group's sustainability goals. Well, regarding timeline and next steps, here are the key dates to keep in mind. Throughout this month, we will be, of course, available to help you with any questions you may have while filling up the form. The most important deadline for you is to note is October 2nd. It means 2 weeks after this session. This is the final day to deliver the filing information request form. And in parallel, our team will begin the data analysis as the information is received, a process that will run from this month, September, through the end of October. Following today's session, we will send you the recording of the session and this presentation document. And of course, we are completely open to receiving your questions or doubts via email, and we will be sure to respond immediately. You can contact us through the emails of the Antesis team, Lorena, Joan, and myself, and of course through John from Farm Hispania to any other question or difficulty in filling the Excel file, right? Well, we will now take a few minutes for any general questions. You can submit them through the question and answer icon in the top of the screen, and we will do our best to answer them. For any specific issues or detailed questions, of course, I'd like to remind you that we are available to help via email. And well, I don't know if you have any questions, please. We are able to answer it through the icon. So we can now go into some frequently asked questions, which will hopefully answer some of the questions you may have. For example, a typical question will be it's about confidentiality. For example, how will the confidentiality of the data you share be handled? Of course, for FAB Hispania and of course Anthesis, confidentiality is a top priority. All information received will be treated as strictly confidential by the project team at FAB Hispania and Anthesis. The data will be used exclusively for the purpose of the program, is to perform aggregated analysis and to define personalized support plans in terms of climate change and decarbonization advances in all the value chain. Under no circumstances will be sensitive data from one supplier be shared with others, of course, and nor will be used for commercial or negotiations purposes. Okay. Related to this, any other questions maybe about the NDA? For example, if the information that we are requesting is sensitive for your business, it's possible to sign a non-disclosure agreement. Yes, of course. We completely understand that the maybe a sensitive nature of some operational data and the importance of protecting it for you. And we are fully open to sign a non-disclosure agreement with any supplier who deems it necessary before sharing information. If you would like to initiate this process, please contact us directly through email to manage the next steps. We can wait a few minutes to you for if you have any question or any doubt to talk now in the session.
Okay, we are receiving some questions. So I will read. Okay, I have a question related to EcoVadis. A supplier is asking that if you are filling out the EcoVadis questionnaire, that if you have to fill out the form as well. And the answer is yes, please. It's a very easy questionnaire, and if you already respond to EcoVadis, that means that you have a lot of things done. So for you, it's going to be easier. Adding the tab, the emissions tab, and sustainability strategy. So if you have asked for EcoVadis or CDP, and you can please fill the form, we will be happy to incorporate this data to the program.
Yeah, regarding any other questions about the support or our support from Anthesis, of course, you can contact us through your technical team of every one of you to clarify or answer any other question or doubt that you have, of course. Yeah, we're open to talk with your technical team, of course.
And also, I recommend, we are here to support you via the emails that we shared, but also if you're from sales and maybe there's a department specialized in sustainability in your company, maybe you can ask for some support in that department, and it's going to be easier to fill this information correctly. So I really recommend, if you have a sustainability department, to share it with them also, so that they can validate and help you to respond. And I have another question. I don't know if I can read it also. A ver. They're asking
Sorry.
how do we set our
Yeah.
GHG reduction goals reasonable to align with Farm Hispania? So Farm Hispania Group is aligned with SBT. SBT is a project that Lorena explained that aligns with the science, with the researchers have estimated how the companies have to reduce these emissions to not the temperature to stay below 2 degrees or better 1.5 degrees. So the recommendation for aligning with Farm Hispania's reduction goal is to align with SBT because they are like, we are going together on the same goal. And I don't know if you, Lorena, that you're more expert in SBT, you want to develop this answer?
Yeah, thank you, Joanna. The point will be for those suppliers to set their own targets aligned with SBTi in order to their emissions be aligned with the Paris Agreement, so the temperature below keeps under the 1.5 degrees. So if you need some assistance with the SBTi, we can talk on the email or whatever to provide you some information.
Yeah, it's important to say that following the SBT principles is not only to align with only Farm Hispania. It's important because it's important to align with an international tendency that align with the Paris Agreement. It's not only about our sector, or it's not only something about our specific value chain. Is something about an international methodology recognized. You know, it's very important for any company to take in mind to align with this SBT program. Yeah. Well, of course, we are able to receive your questions via email. Well, I don't know. To conclude, we would like to thank you once again on behalf of Farm Hispania Group and Anthesis for your collaboration and for being an active part of this program. This is very important for Farm Hispania. We firmly believe that the meaningful progress in sustainability can only achieve through the collaboration of all actors in the sectors. We are convinced that this joint effort will directly result in building a more resilient and low carbon value chain for everyone. And well, with that, we'll conclude the session. We hope this has been valuable for you. We are looking forward to receiving your information and, of course, to supporting you with the next steps. Best regards from the team at Anthesis, and now I'll hand it over to John for a few final words. I don't know, John, if you want to talk something.
I just wanted to say thank you both to the Anthesis team and to everyone for attending today. And the information will be shared with everyone, the PowerPoint, and then if you have any questions, you can come back to us whilst you're submitting the Excel files. So thank you very much.